you received an order from someone at some point that said you got to shoot this NHI. And
I feel really uncomfortable talking about this because this is a credibility destroyer, in my opinion, and it really bothers me. Yeah.
Now here's what I want to get at, because I think this is important to give you the opportunity to go through like where your head's at and why you're claiming some of the things you are and whatever, and we'll let people decide on that. But when you did this Twitter Spaces in April, there was actually a guy, Vetted, I believe. Shout out Vetted.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen a video on this, I think a couple weeks ago, who apparently at the time had heard through the grapevine of a couple other people he was connected to that you had a story of being ordered to assassinate an alien. Now this was like at the time shot down or whatever, and then fast forward from April 2024 when that was first like floated by him and he caught backlash for that. Now fast forward to December 2024, the program comes out on the 16th, and I believe like a day later, I forget who it was with, I'm sorry, I'll put the link in description, but you do like a 22-minute interview, I think it was, on YouTube. Who was that with? Do you remember?
I think it was with Digby for now.
Alessi, can you look this up real quick? Jason Sands interview alien assassination, and look for the one that's 22 minutes. I want to get back.
While I was looking at that, I'll respond a little bit.
Yeah,
But
please.
Anyway, Vetted had put out the video, but he said something like, "I killed a blue alien."
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh shit, that is not what I said," because he was confusing two different things. Because
Who had you said this to, or whatever he was misinterpreting?
I don't know who he talked to behind the scenes, but I did mention it to only one other or two other people.
Okay.
That there was some stuff that I had, some work that I had to do that I don't like talking about because it brings PTSD back. But the other thing was that this blue alien, I was like, no, I didn't kill a blue alien. So I immediately called Vetted, and we settled it up, and I said, look, that's not right. And I said, can you take it down? Because it's not correct. And then he didn't take it down, but he corrected himself. But that's because I contacted him.
Yeah.
And we got to know each other. He's a really great guy. And he's also somebody I consider a friend through all this.
Yeah.
He doesn't agree with all my stuff, and I don't care about that. It's not his life.
Yeah, and
this
is the video right here, post-disclosure world. That's who it was, who you did this with.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to get at, because you don't say any of this back in April. And when you talked with James and gave the testimony on the documentary, you didn't mention any of this. You didn't mention lost time unless that was on the cutting floor, James. You can fill that in.
Yeah, I don't remember about the lost time, but I definitely remember I called Jason. I was like, dude, you are killing me right now. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All right.
You want to kill the credibility of all the testimony. I'm already riding the line with you, this encounter, so.
All right, so.
I was having a big issue.
Yes, and you have to understand this is like a crazy claim for the average person like me to hear.
The blue alien's already tough.
That's already tough. Agreed.
Yeah.
But like when you're like, I was forced to assassinate for the Intergalactic Federation, whatever, it gets to like, all right, what
crazy
the fuck?
status.
So my first question is, before we get into it, because I want you to explain what this was, what was the decision-making process for you, A, not to share that with James when you testified on the documentary, and B, not to share it in the Twitter Spaces when you went public and had a 6-hour forum to share your experience?
Initially, I thought it was bad I didn't want to talk about it for the film because it was something that I did not like to talk about to begin with or even remember. And mainly that I was comfortable talking about other subject matter. However, there are people that are close to me that did get to have more information than even Congress did in certain aspects, and one of them is this particular part of the program that they run that deals with, no kidding, stuff that is cleaning up problems for themselves, and be that human or otherwise, that being the case. So they do have a part of the program and people that do handle that.
In your opinion?
In my opinion.
Okay, let's leave it at that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the kind of thing that I was asked about. Now, was there a thought process when they asked me this? No, they caught me off guard is what happened. Because like I said, the PTSD dealing with some of this crap that goes on inside the program is very hard to handle.
And just so that people have transparency out there, because you have said this publicly, what is it that you explain was the context with this? As in, you received an order from someone at some point that said, you got to shoot this NHI. And
I feel really uncomfortable talking about this because this is a credibility destroyer, in my opinion, and it really bothers me that
And
you're
I don't
talking
like
about it,
talking
and I
about
don't
it.
want to be connected to it in
It's
any
gonna
way,
bring
shape,
back-
or form.
well, actually,
And I've already told him that.
All right, so
if
hold
you're
on.
going to make those claims, I'm walking out the door.
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry.
I have to tell you-
it's already bad enough.
Yeah, because right now we're treading a line where
I said, even if it's true, don't talk about it.
right, and
Not to say that I believe it. It's a credibility killer, and it's horrible.
James, I understand that.
Yeah.
When you interviewed Jason,
Yeah, he didn't tell me
for the
about any of that.
documentary. There's none of this there.
No.
You've already described how you went through and vetted it.
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect and whatever. No
for
story's
sure,
perfect
no,
with
yeah.
anyone, regardless
I'm
of
just
who it
saying,
is.
I don't feel comfortable talking about it.
Okay.
It's something that I
All
would
right.
like. It's horrible that it even happened, and I've explained to him, if you're trying to discredit your entire everything, then continue on that
All right,
path.
then let me ask
Yeah.
this. I will.
I'm really uncomfortable.
All right,
just,
listen.
Just so you know.
Out of respect for you,
Yeah.
I'm going to refer people to the post disclosure
fair
podcast where that
enough.
was said.
Yeah,
Okay, we
yeah.
will have the link. Make sure we have the link to that in the description, Alessi.
Yeah.
I'll double check that.
and
Sorry.
so to clarify on my side,
Yes.
okay,
Why? What made you want?
I was
Regardless.
caught totally off guard.
But
That's
why
the
did
only-
you say it?
Because they asked me. Anybody who knows me knows I'm an honest guy. That I will, if I have a question that I'm given, I will give you at least what I can talk about. But this also made my head spin when they asked me this, because this is attached to some very dark times that I had to go through in those years. So, out of respect for me, at least, it took me a good week to get my head back after that interview. Mm-hmm. Okay, it was that bad. I mean, you're talking like a PTSD kind of on fire kind of guy. That's what happened to me, and I do not want to walk that path again.
So what I think, let me step in here for a second, if you don't mind, and
Okay.
editorialize, because I got to look at this from my seat, from a journalistic perspective, from a human being perspective, from a what we've heard today perspective, all of it put together. I had mentioned earlier, I don't think any one human is perfect. I don't think any one story is perfect. I think there's a lot of gray area. I think that you've done an amazing job today demonstrating your life story, the credibility of things you literally have done in the military.
Yes.
The person you are and where you came from. I was sitting here, moved borderline to tears, hearing about your childhood and how you overcame that and all that. I think that's incredible. Mm-hmm. You have also voluntarily mentioned, and I completely understand this and have the utmost respect for it, that naturally through many experiences in your life, from childhood to the military to some of the stuff we talked about today, you certainly have PTSD, which I talked with you off camera before. That is a subject that I'm very passionate about. I've had the honor of speaking with a lot of guys, especially people in the military, but some other people as well in other contexts on this podcast. Probably about, I think I told you 15 or 20 times, but I think it was probably more than that. I have to go back and count it in the course of this podcast. And, I understand that the way that sometimes stories are expressed and memories are repressed or pulled out is not always perfect. So
not.
I have respect for that. And I have respect for the fact that maybe there are things you've said along the way where you get caught off guard, you remember something that didn't happen, or you remember something in a different context. Not putting words in your mouth. I'm just saying hypothetically.
No. Here's my mind on exactly what I feel about that experience.
Okay.
I'm still dealing with, even if it's a nightmare or a memory at this point.
Yep.
Because I have avoided it for so many years. I have also, I have a psychiatrist that I talk to every month about PTSD, but I have not broached what I have been exposed to in full with that person. And I am going to discuss everything with that person. And if the decision is that, yes, this is just a repressed memory, or if this is just something that happened and your mind is trying to do something with you and make you come up with a different memory just so you can survive that memory, I want that psychiatrist to get their professional opinion, not some guy on YouTube or some guy on Twitter. They're not qualified for that. All that happened was I got asked a question. I was caught off guard. It spiked my PTSD. That's where it is. Give me a break. I'm going to go back and ask the right questions and make sure that my psychiatrist knows, and I'll talk about it. And whether or not it's personal or not after that, and I want to talk about it again, that's kind of up to me, and whether it's going to harm me or not. Right now, I've already received a great deal of harm. And
Which I feel bad for because I was the one that exposed you. So, that was
Yeah.
that was all on me.
well, not this one. I mean, this
Yeah.
one was kind of on me.
No,
It's
but
just
I'm saying your name is out
I
there
did not
because
have
of
my
me.
guard. I did not have my guard up properly,
Yeah.
and they caught me off on a question, and I was like, shit. After I'd said it, I thought to myself, shit, I never should have brought this up. And I should have just told them, I am not comfortable talking about this. Leave me alone about it.
Okay. Did it particularly sting when some members of the military community were...
I have the greatest respect for the vets and the JSOC folks. The people that they actually interviewed with knew what they knew. But like the guy who was in my career field and said, oh, Jay couldn't have been in a SAP program and he couldn't have been leaving for 2 weeks without everybody noticing. I just showed you why that guy's wrong. JSOC, I have never claimed to have been a JSOC guy. I helped them cover down their security on it. So the JSOC guy, full respect for. Yes, he knows his stuff inside and out. He does not know all of the black programs and who's being hired because some of those guys are like him and didn't make the cut and then became mercenaries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some other people out there that have testimony that can say that there are some really nasty types in the mercenary corps in these black programs.
For sure.
And so the JSOC guy, give him credit. He did a great job, putting up what he does for a living. And I totally respect that.
You had mentioned way earlier that none, and we've mentioned a few times throughout that none of this, when it was happening or whatever, was discussed with your family in any way. But you did discuss it in recent years around the time where you were going to be coming forward with your wife and your kids. What were those conversations like?
They were tough. I mean, when I told my wife, she just literally was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember so and so and so and so and so and so." And when I took off on this and that, this is where we went. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, that was a mission that I did for the program. And she was like, you kept this from me? It turned into a kind of a fight. Because I was like, yeah, I did it. And I didn't tell you. So it was tough. And then some of my kids, they were like, oh, this is good. And other times, I've got two of the kids are just like, I don't know what to think. But most of them are just in general just saying, yeah, this could have happened.
Well, it is obviously mind-blowing stuff, to say the least.
It is.
And
it's not an easy walk either.
No, I know.
And I hope that one day we all will be able to hear the full Monty and not have all this, to me, having experienced it the way I did, this is my reality, okay? However, you guys did not have to go through the things I did. Yeah. At some point, I'm hoping that we get to the point of reality that we're not alone, where you guys will get to know what I know. And you're going to be like, holy shit, Jay was never telling us a lie. We just couldn't accept it at this point in time. And that may be a day within our lifetime. And I'm hoping so. And that's my point of wanting to come forward as well, is that this is not, and here's another thing about my way of thinking about why I did it on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I've seen so many people, good people with integrity, clearances, and everything, come forward to Congress and failed. So many, decade after decade after decade after decade of people coming giving testimony. And I thought, well, nobody's tried reaching out to the public, and now we've got these great social platforms to be able to do this. And I thought, just about every great thing that this nation has done has been from the people. We're the ones who fought for our independence. All these great things we've done all throughout our lifetime as a nation. And I was like, maybe the people are the missing key. Maybe that's the thing that's going to push Congress to actually go out there and get the investigation done and get to disclosure, And then maybe some of the other people that have been in the program with me will come back and say, yeah, everything Jay said that's true. I know that they did this and they did that. And but we're not there yet.
That's the thing. Even if you go back and some things actually are repressed things where other memories that maybe didn't happen come back, but there are pieces of what you say. Let's even put a low percentage on it. Let's say if 10% of what you say is real, it's a big deal.
It is.
And I want to not only give you that respect, but also at least leave open the possibility that there are things we're dealing with that we cannot conceive of in the general public that guys like you are helping to bring forward. Now, you've talked about these other whistleblowers. Obviously, David Grush is the most well-known of them, but there's around 40 or whatever who are in this network that he's talked to. You've had a chance to talk with at least a few of them. Have you had some tough conversations with them where you guys are talking about each other's stories and being like, really? Did that really happen?
Yes. Yep. All the time. They've experienced other things, and other times I've been very accepting because I'm like, yeah, that fits what I know. There's some whistleblowers, and I'm like, I don't know what to think about that.
Somebody was telling me just the other day that I actually respect the opinion of this individual who seemed to be in a position to know that there are only roughly 20 people on the entire planet that have the bigger picture.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because see, and that was the kind of the curse and the beauty of my position is that I had to be read in at the umbrella level like the leadership is. So I didn't have to go, if I went to Wright-Patterson, I didn't have to do a bunch of read-ins. I could just automatically go in and start monitoring without having to read into it, all the programs they have running through there. And then also I had the luxury of being able to listen to the people at the tactical level that had all the detail of what was going on a day-to-day basis inside those programs. There's very few people that have that level of detail and the big picture that the leadership knows. And that's what my team was hired to do, is that we listened to all of that. So it's a very unique level of information. But think about it. Let me give you an example then, just to run through your mind that you can understand where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. And this is what I kind of did with Congress too. And I'll say it here as well. I'm not going to shortchange you on language, okay? I'm here for one reason only, and that is to make things better for people. And if you can't see that from the look on my face, the sincerity in my voice, then you got something else going on through your head. Because you can tell I'm a man that doesn't cotton to anybody else other than what I know and what I'm trying to do to help people. Now, let's put the shoe on the other foot now. Let's say that we're the intergalactic race, okay? And another civilization is looking at us, okay? What kinds of things in our society have I talked about that are really off my rocker if we're as messed up as we are right now? And you're a race coming in from another planet looking at what the hell's going on this planet and the crap we put up with.
It's hard to conceive because I can't put myself in their
Exactly.
shoes.
And that's just it, is that this is what I've been exposed to. That's what other people have been exposed to. And it's so hard to know what you know and not be able to get it off your chest, because some of it does affect you badly. And some of it does affect you well, because, that encounter in the desert, it changed my life for the better, I feel, because I was able to. Yeah, because I feel like that guy was very civilized, and I kind of want to be that person. I want to be calm and peaceful, accepting, and everything else. I didn't want to be that fearful guy that felt snake bit.
So in a way,
scared.
you view, even though he looked different and whatever, and you knew that's not from here, you viewed
Yeah, there
him
was
as
a
a person.
kindness to him.
You viewed him as and you use that word, you view him as like a person.
Yeah, I don't call him an ET or no. He's a person. And that's just what, I think that's something that a lot of people in this field don't even think about. Because, wait a minute, complete your thought, please. If you've even had one encounter that's true, there's a civilization that's got its own form of government. It's got its own legal problems. It's got its own people that have to go to jail. There's people that do nasty stuff to other people. They get into wars just like we do. They're not thinking full-heartedly on it. They're just seeing the shiny object in the sky and wanting to know about the little green men. But they're forgetting about all the real meaningful questions about, that's a civilization. That craft was built in a manufacturing plant. Where? You got to think about that, because it's not just some shiny object that's like a golly gee whiz event.
But there's steps that need to happen. Like if you take a guy like me, I've been at this for 30 years, and I didn't report on close encounters of the third kind for 25 years.
Yes.
Almost, about 25 years, because I knew it was a slippery slope. And I knew that, I hate to go back to that expression, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
It's a great expression, though.
But in some respects, it's really true. It's
yes.
like, if you're going to put it out there, God.
Let me add something to that.
Yeah.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary explanation, but they also require an extraordinary investigation, which we have never had in this country.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean,
I use that quote all the time, James.
Yeah.
You said that in episode 138. I'd never heard that before. That comes up probably every 5 podcasts or something.
And it's true, but this thing, just like what you just said, require extraordinary investigation. We owe it to ourselves, because if this gentleman's saying, and a lot of other people that are saying,
I'm
is
not
true.
the only guy.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, I've reported this all around the world. If it's true, the implications are global. which is not just in the United States issue, right?
Yeah.
So we owe it to ourselves to provide the platform needed to create an environment for these individuals to come and give us the details needed to verify their claims, because the stakes are too high not to.
If you don't mind, James and Jay, just because this podcast is different than any one I've ever done before, and because of the veracity of the claims we talked about today and everything, I want to address each of you separately for a second. So I'm going to go one by one, and then we'll close this up.
Sounds good.
So first of all, Jay, and I said this already, but I want to say this again. I appreciate you sharing everything today. Yep. And going through even very difficult memories and being very open and forthcoming. I've enjoyed spending time with you off camera. Yep. You strike me as a really good guy. And I want to put the cards on the table right now. I thought, when I first looked at this story, it was complete bullshit. Mm-hmm. I really did. And I looked at it and I said, and the strange thing is, I would watch you, I would listen to you talk like on the Spaces, and then I watch you on another interview that was done, I think, with the New Paradigm guys. And I'm like, I sit across from a lot of people. I don't bat 1,000, but I'm pretty fucking good at it, right? Like, it doesn't feel like a stone cold liar or anything like that. Like, there's something else going on here. And that said, because of the veracity of the claims, I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna go in here with an open mind tomorrow? Like, because that's my job. I got to go in here and I got to ask the questions, and I got to do it from. We all have our biases, but as a human being on a human to human level, I got to do this from the level of, really trying to connect and letting your words tell the story, sink or swim, on your own. And this morning I went and did a really hard workout. I got to do a boxing workout this morning. I was flowing. I came in here and, I think I did have an open mind, and I don't rule out everything you said. You've sold me on the sense that first of all, your military record is on the record. I believe that's all there, and I appreciate that we had that all shared and had that exclusively. I believe what you're talking about in your childhood. I think that's certainly, I can't even imagine that. I got to grow up in a great home with parents who luckily didn't have substance abuse problems or anything like that. I count my lucky stars for that every day. And so somewhere along here that there's a lot of levels of truth. And because of the things you've been through, there are things that you just laid out very beautifully yourself that could be repressed memories or things that you remember differently than how they really are. And some of the claims could get perhaps outlandish at a point. That said, if there is even a small percentage of truth to what you've said about potential contact with NHI, and any of that can be used to push forward in the future some positive disclosures so that human beings can be given the base information they should be allowed to know, which is that we are not alone. If that is the case, then I think it's a net win. And I wish you all the best, and I thank you for sharing all that.
Thank you.
James, you and I go way back. You go farther back with Alessi here. Again, we gave a shout out earlier, but Alessi was literally making moment of contact with you in college down in Brazil. It's the coolest backstory. You and I are tied together kind of forever in a lot of ways.
You think my stuff was crazy? Holy crap.
Yeah, true.
Alessi's got something. We should do a podcast on that. He's got some insane behind the scenes stories. We did do episode 85 where we discussed some of that, so people can check that out. Watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.